I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need strangers on the internet to tell me if I'm losing my mind. My wife and I have been married 9 years. No kids yet by choice, stable jobs, quiet life. She's always been intense, emotional, dramatic, but passionate in a way I thought meant love. Lately, she'd started accusing me of things that made no sense, asking where I really was after work, checking my phone as a joke, crying because she dreamed I cheated. I figured it was insecurity. I reassured her constantly. Flowers, notes, dates. Still, she pulled away, stopped kissing me, started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. One night she said out of nowhere, "If you ever betray me, I'll destroy you." She laughed after like it was a joke. I laughed too, but something about it stayed with me, like a warning I didn't understand yet. The discovery didn't come from snooping. It came from her sister. She called me drunk at 1 a.m. and asked if my wife was home. I said yes. She was asleep beside me. Silence. Then her sister whispered, "Oh, God, she told me she was with you." My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up. I hung up, stared at my wife, still sleeping peacefully, and waited until morning. When I asked her where she'd been the night before, she didn't even hesitate. She said we watched a movie and went to bed early. She said it so casually I almost believed her. Then her phone buzzed. A message preview lit up the screen. "I already miss you." From a contact named Jim Locker. I picked it up before she could. She exploded, tried to grab it back, screamed that I had no right. The thread was open. Photos, hotel mirrors, messages about how stupid I was. The twist? The man was someone I knew. Very well. It was my manager. The guy who recommended me for a promotion last year. The guy who came to our house for dinner twice. When I said his name, she froze. Then she smiled. Not guilty. Almost proud. She said he understood her ambition, that I was too soft. She said it had been going on for over a year. Then came the lies. She claimed they were ending. Then admitted they'd booked a weekend trip together. Then said she only stayed with me because divorcing me would look bad for her career. When I asked if she loved him, she shrugged and said love was a childish concept. The final twist that night. She told me if I told anyone, she'd accuse me of domestic abuse. She said she'd already told one coworker I had anger issues. Just in case, I slept in my car. That was the first night I understood my marriage wasn't just broken, it was dangerous. The next morning I went to work like a ghost. Seeing his face across the office almost made me vomit. He acted normal, friendly, asked how my wife was doing. I realized then how long they'd been laughing behind my back. I didn't confront him, not yet. I started documenting everything instead. Screenshots, dates, her threats. I secretly recorded one argument where she told me, word for word, "If you leave, I'll ruin you." Another twist came when I checked our shared cloud drive and found a folder I didn't recognize. Inside were drafted emails to HR accusing me of harassment. Unsaved, but written weeks before I even knew about the affair. She hadn't sent them. She prepared them. That's when fear replaced anger. This wasn't just cheating. This was strategy. I moved important documents to a friend's house and changed my passwords that night. When I confronted her again, calmly this time, she flipped the script instantly. She cried, said he had pressured her, that she was scared of losing her job, that I was emotionally unavailable, and she felt trapped. Then I mentioned the draft to HR. Her face drained of color. For a second, the mask slipped. Then she got cold and said, "Those were in case you tried to hurt me." Another lie. She offered counseling, then threatened divorce, then begged me not to tell his wife because it would destroy multiple careers. The twist I didn't expect. His wife already knew. She confronted him weeks ago, and he'd sworn it was over. When I told my wife this, she panicked and accused me of trying to sabotage her future. That night she packed a bag and left without telling me where she was going. At 3 a.m., I got a text from my manager. "We should talk." That's when I realized my job was now part of the battlefield. The meeting happened in a conference room with HR present. He denied everything, said I was unstable. Said my wife had pursued him and I'd become obsessive. Then HR showed printed messages, my screenshots. The color left his face. Another twist. He'd deleted most of his side, but she hadn't. He was put on leave immediately. My wife found out and showed up at the house screaming that I'd ruined her life. She tried to hug me, then slapped me when I pulled away. I recorded it. She noticed and lunged for my phone. I locked myself in the bathroom while she cried on the other side, saying she'd kill herself if I left. When I finally opened the door, she was calm again, asking if we could start fresh. That was the moment I knew there was nothing left to save, only myself. I moved out 2 days later with a backpack and my laptop, stayed on my friend's couch, afraid to go home alone. She flooded my phone with messages, apologies, threats, voice notes sobbing, then long paragraphs explaining how this was somehow my fault. Another twist hit when my manager's wife called me. She was calm, too calm, and asked if I planned to destroy everyone or if I'd keep quiet. Apparently my wife had told her I was blackmailing them. That was new. I sent her the screenshots instead. She went silent, then whispered thank you and hung up. Later I learned she'd kicked him out that same night. Meanwhile, my wife posted vague quotes on social media about surviving abuse and toxic men. People I barely knew started unfollowing me. One mutual friend asked if I was getting help. That's when I realized she'd started building a story where I was the villain, and she was the survivor. The legal part got ugly fast. I hired a lawyer who told me to stop responding to her completely. The next day I got served with a temporary restraining order, based on accusations I'd threatened her. No evidence, just her statement. Another twist. The judge granted it anyway, temporarily. I wasn't allowed near my own house. She moved back in, changed the locks, took photos of herself crying in our bedroom, and sent them to my mother. My lawyer fought it, and within a week it was dropped, but the damage was done. At work, HR quietly told me I'd be transferred for my own well-being. Translation: keep the scandal quiet. My manager was fired. She lost her job 2 weeks later. When she called me screaming about it, I didn't feel satisfaction, just exhaustion. I had loved this person. Now I didn't recognize either of us. The sadness finally came after the chaos slowed. No more screaming, no more lawyers calling every hour, just the silence. I went back to the house to get the rest of my things and found she'd taken all our photos down, like I'd never existed. On the fridge, she left a note. I hope you're happy. I laughed out loud at that. The divorce went through quickly after that. She didn't fight once she realized there was no leverage left. The last message she ever sent me said, "One day you'll understand why I did this." I blocked her without replying. Now I'm rebuilding slowly. New apartment, new job, therapy twice a week. What I learned is terrifying and simple. Sometimes the person you trust most isn't broken, confused, or hurting. They're calculating. If someone threatens you with lies, believe them. Protect yourself early. Love shouldn't feel like a courtroom. The quiet phase was harder than the war. When there's no crisis, your brain starts replaying everything. I kept remembering small moments and wondering which ones were real and which were rehearsed. The way she used to squeeze my hand in elevators. The night she cried in my arms about work stress. I realized later those were probably nights she felt guilty, not enough to stop, just enough to perform remorse. Another twist surfaced when HR from my old company emailed me asking for a statement. Turns out she'd filed a complaint after she was fired, claiming the affair was my revenge scheme and I'd manipulated evidence. They closed the case after reviewing the files, but reading her accusations again reopened wounds I thought had closed. The scariest part wasn't the lies. It was how convincing they sounded, even to me, for half a second. I tried dating again, and learned quickly how trauma leaks into everything. If someone didn't answer a text, my chest tightened. If they laughed at their phone, I went quiet. One woman asked why I flinched when she raised her voice in excitement. I didn't have a good answer. Therapy helped me name what happened. Emotional abuse, coercive control, reputation sabotage. Putting labels on it made it feel real, not just like a bad breakup I'd failed at. Another twist came when my ex emailed my therapist pretending to be a concerned friend asking about my mental health. Luckily, my therapist recognized the name. That was the last time I felt actual fear of her. After that, something settled. I changed my number, locked down my socials, and finally started sleeping through the night again. A few months later, I heard through the same friend that my ex was dating someone new, a junior employee from her old company. Apparently, she told him I'd been violent and controlling. That hurt, but not the way it used to. I realized I couldn't protect strangers from her patterns. I could only protect myself from letting them continue in my life. I stopped checking her accounts, stopped asking mutual friends for updates, started building a life that didn't orbit around damage control. I joined a climbing gym, adopted a cat that hated everyone but me, learned how peaceful normal arguments can be, disagreements without threats, without fear. It sounds boring, but boring started to feel like luxury. What still haunts me is how close I came to losing everything without doing anything wrong. One signature, one accusation at the wrong time, and my life could have gone a very different direction. That thought made me paranoid for a while, but it also made me careful. I document everything now. I trust, but slowly, and I listen when something feels off instead of explaining it away. If there's any advice buried in all this, it's this: manipulation doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks charming, successful, articulate, crying at the right moments. If someone mixes love with fear, affection with threats, intimacy with control, that's not passion. That's a warning label. I ignored mine until it almost cost me my future. I'm not angry anymore. Not really. I'm grateful I got out before there were kids, mortgages, lives even more tangled. I'm grateful the truth surfaced before her story became permanent. Most of all, I'm grateful I learned that protecting yourself isn't betrayal. It's survival. If you're reading this wondering whether to gather evidence, talk to a lawyer. Tell someone you trust. Do it now, not later. Silence only helps the person who's already lying. I didn't win anything in this divorce, but I kept my name, my sanity, and my chance at a life that isn't built on fear. And that, after everything, feels like enough. The last twist came when I thought everything was finally over. About 6 months after the divorce, I got a letter from a law firm I didn't recognize. My ex was threatening to sue me for defamation because, according to her, my screenshots and testimony had damaged her career. Reading it, I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. Even now, after losing her job, her marriage, her reputation, she still needed someone else to blame. My lawyer handled it in one short response, and the threat disappeared. That was the moment I realized something important. She would never stop trying to rewrite the story. Closure wasn't something she could give me. It was something I had to take for myself. Time did what nothing else could. Slowly, quietly, it stitched parts of me back together. I stopped replaying conversations in the shower. I stopped checking old messages. I started trusting my instinct again. One night, sitting alone on my balcony, I realized I hadn't thought about her all day. That felt like winning the lottery. I began to understand that healing isn't dramatic. It's boring. It's grocery shopping without anxiety. It's laughing without wondering who's lying. It's waking up without dread. I'm not naive anymore, but I'm not bitter either. I still believe in love. I just believe now that love without safety isn't love at all. So this is my final update. I'm okay. More than okay. I'm stronger than I ever was inside that marriage. If there's one thing I'd tell anyone reading this, it's this: document everything, trust your gut, and don't let fear keep you in a place where you're slowly disappearing. People who threaten your future to protect their secrets are not confused. They are dangerous. Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done, but staying would have cost me my life as I knew it. If you're standing where I once stood, unsure, terrified, doubting yourself, please know this: there's a version of your life on the other side that is quieter, safer, and more honest, and you deserve it.